Welcome to the Dan McShane Coaches Show here on WBCB as we talk Pennsbury Falcon football, getting you set for the Falcons and the Owls of Bensalem to do battle here tonight on your station in Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer counties. Chris Ermer here with the coach, and we get to have some fun talking about Pennsbury Falcon football. I got my shirt that I wear when I talk with you, Coach. I got my Pennsbury Channel mug here.
We got rock
Things are good.
Yeah.
Congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Yeah, it was. Well, it started out like a lot of our games did. The defense gives up an opening score, and it's been a huge concern. We walked out to start the game, and I said to our staff, my staff, I'm like, you guys think, are we historically slow starters? And they said, oh, yeah. Like, are we practicing, are we warming up too long, not long enough? So as we're going out, it's in our head, and then we gave up a score right away.
I mean, that kind of thing can be like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Always, yeah. Often.
What do you guys do to get started earlier?
Hey, we're still trying to figure that out, but it's attention to detail, and as I said, we're looking at maybe we warm up too long, too soon, or not late enough, not early enough, all the above.
Let's take a look back at the win over Council Rock North. You guys win 35-7. The Indians scoring only on their opening possession. Just to stick with what we're talking about with the defense, what adjustments did you guys make in order to stop them after that opening drive?
Well, we went to the sideline, looked at our video technology, and we just simply came down to making better run fits. They did a good job with their game plan coming out of the gate, but once we started fitting things up properly, we were good to go.
So you would tighten it up and win going away 35-7. Talk a little bit about the development of your quarterback, Drew Henser. He threw for 191 yards and threw for a touchdown to Josh Boyda. Potentially could be our play of the week here on WBCB. Just seems like each game he's getting a little bit better. That must make you guys feel pretty good.
Yeah, we ask a lot out of him. More than a typical high school quarterback. He's got a lot of responsibility, and he's just getting better and better with decision making, and there's still the occasional I told him, I said, just make ordinary plays. Don't worry about extraordinary. Just do ordinary really well, often.
So Henser throws for a touchdown, but it was really the run game. It seemed like that was the key for you guys against the Indians.
Usually is.
130 yards for Brad Mickles. That's his biggest game of the season so far.
Yeah, and again, it starts with the guys up front, and we don't do a whole lot in run offense. It's pretty much one or two plays, and our kids have gotten real good at blocking it up, and Brad, same thing, making good decisions. Early in the season, we were a little concerned about him trying to hit home runs too much, and we just said, take what they give you, and so he's gotten better at that, and the whole cast of it back there, the running back by committee gang.
Eddie Dualu, one of those running backs in the committee, was our player of the week. After the game, had 4 touchdowns, and when he was talking with Brandon Garrett, he said, I never scored 4 touchdowns in my whole football career. A big night for him.
Yeah, and I want to say it was totally by accident. Eddie's a talented kid, and the same thing. He's not an overly big kid. He's not overly fast, but he's a good decision maker. And again, I still question how they make the rotation with those running backs back there. It's just maybe a hot hand type of kid, and he stays. And next time he's got 4 touchdowns.
Sean Miles got some targets, 5 catches, 64 yards. Almost seems like he just is waiting to have a breakout game. Is that how you guys feel on the sideline as well?
Absolutely. He's a big target. He's really physical when he catches the ball. He's a punishing runner. I liken him to a high school Julio Jones type of kid. He really, if he catches the ball through the second, he may just run right through it and just knocks a lot of people over on the way too.
So Pennsbury now 2 wins, 3 losses on the season. An interesting weekend last weekend for the Suburban One League National Conference as the Truman Tigers got a big win over the Neshaminy Redskins. The Golden Hawks playing good football. They were able to defeat Abington. This league is really shaping up with a bit more parity, I think, than we see in other seasons.
Yeah, for sure. I could have never predicted it at all. I'll say I predicted that Truman was going to be even better than last year, and they were a playoff team. But the Rock South thing, we kind of felt like out of nowhere, and then when they lost against their quarterback early in the season, you felt like, well, they're going to really tank. And a lot of good people over there coaching, between Vinny and a lot of his assistant coaches, and so I've often said that. Those kids love playing for him, and it doesn't matter who's in the lineup or what the record is.
So Bensalem this week, and the Owls officially 0-5, but they feel like they are a 2-3 team as a couple of their early victories series were forfeited because of an ineligible player. And you have some history back with the Owls. You coached there for a while. It's a big game. I mean, each time you go back and you tangle with your old school, it must have a little bit more significance for you.
Maybe a couple years back. I mean, I remember when Galen was here and we played him the first time, and you know, we were putting on him pretty good at one point. But then they battled us tough for the first half, and then we started putting on him, and Galen was going to treat me to like a half 100, and I said, no, we're good. Just call the dogs off. You know, we're good. So yeah, but really, you know, good people over there too, and kids, and they're very confident still. They're very confident.
Well, talk a little bit about Coach Ed Cubbage. He was with the Truman program. He's been in the coaching circles here locally for a lot of years, and he's got the ability to take a program and really turn it around, start to get it going in the right direction. And we saw, I think, some of the roots of what he did at Truman ended up bearing fruit against Neshaminy, albeit underneath a different regime. But he does have some great leadership skills and is able to bring his teams together.
Yeah, I mean, he comes in here with, you know, he's two unique systems, one on offense and one on defense, and he gets his kids to play well within it, and you know, between the triple option, which is always difficult to defend on a 1-week basis, and then he's playing the little odd stack defense, which is another odd look for offenses to attack. So that it just out of the gate from a scheme standpoint. And the same thing, Eddie's really he's the kids like him a lot, and he's a real good coach. A player's coach, and it's a nice combination to have those X's and O's and that kind of, like you said, leadership and personality.
Head coach of the Pennsbury Falcons, Dan McShane, with us here on WBCB as we get set for some high school football tonight. The Falcons hosting the Owls of Bensalem. We'll take a little closer look at Bensalem, some of their recent games, and talk about what they did with a common opponent, CB East. We'll be right back as we continue here before some high school football on WBCB.
The ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute is redefining care in Center City and South Jersey. And our 50,000 square foot location on ARIA Health's Bucks campus in Langhorne features private rooms, free parking, and nearby hotels. With over a century of experience, the world-class 3Bs, Doctors Booth, Bartolozzi, Balderston, and their partners personally guide you from treatment through recovery. For all your orthopedic needs, call 1-888-ORTHO-3B or visit aria3bortho.org. At the ARIA 3B Orthopedic Institute, you come first.
If you are looking for a car, where do you go? Faulkner Auto Group at 4427 Street Road in Trevose is where to go for the best deals in Bucks County for all your new pre-owned cars, trucks, or SUVs. Go to Faulkner Auto Group. It's always Faulkner, to be sure. Go online to faulknerautogroup.com. Just remember, it's Faulkner, to be sure, for all your new cars or trucks. 4427 Street Road in Trevose. Faulkner, to be sure.
Hi, Merrill Reese to tell you about our good friends at the Revere Ristorante Italiano in nearby Ewing Township at 802 River Road. I can tell you that from South Philadelphia to New York's Mulberry Street, there's no better Italian cuisine than that served at the Revere. Start your meal with one of their great appetizers or salads. Entrees include outstanding veal dishes, fresh seafood daily, excellent steaks and chops, homemade pasta dishes, daily specials, and much more. You can also enjoy their bar area, where on most weekends, entertainment is offered. The Revere also does off-premise catering and can accommodate private parties for any affair, including business functions. Call the Revere Ristorante Italiano for more information and reservations at 609-882-6365. 882-6365. The Revere Ristorante Italiano open Monday through Friday for lunch and 7 days for dinner at 802 River Road, right off the Wilbertha Road exit on Route 29. In nearby Ewing Township.
Don't forget, if you miss any of your local high school sports action, you can read all about it in tomorrow's edition of the Trentonian. For your complete local and national news 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian, or online at thetrentonian.com. The only newspaper serving Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County 7 days a week, it's the Trentonian.
The Pennsbury Falcons getting set to take on the Bensalem Owls. We are with head coach Dan McShane here. Coach McShane, last week Bensalem fell to CB South 35-7, the same score that you guys were able to defeat Council Rock North by. That's been their third game where they really were outscored by quite a bit. I mean, I would imagine there must be something kind of to some of the early season they had to forfeit. It's a team that still considers themselves 2-3, and they're still a dangerous team with some guys that you guys have to kind of match up with, figure out where they're going to be on the field.
Well, we think, in that system again, where they have kind of 4 skill guys spread across the field, and usually a pretty big, bulky, fullback, and the quarterback's talented. He's a young kid, but he's talented, and we feel like you got to pay attention to detail again and play responsibility football and defense, and again handling that kind of odd look front is we got to get our kids kind of schooled up right.
I mean, you guys are young, but this Ben Salem team may be even a younger team. They start like 11 juniors, I think, and some other underclassmen. And so, with that said, with so much youth, you almost can't take these scores and say this is what the team is. You're not sure exactly how they're developing and how they're coming along. I don't know. I think a young team may be a little bit harder to put your finger on.
I go from flexing back and forth between maybe it was Belichick or Parcells saying you are what your record says you are, to like, well, I don't know. There's exceptions to the rule, and if they said that about us, people would say, well, you're a 2-3 football team, but we feel like we're not, and I'm sure I see those kids in the hallway at Ben Salem, every day, and they're very confident, and it took a big emotional hit with the forfeits, but. And I've said to them too, just keep chopping wood, keep battling, and you'll be fine.
You brought up a couple of NFL coaches there, and I know you're a big Eagles fan. Want to switch gears just a little bit and ask if you were able to see Carson Wentz's opening drive and Eagles getting the victory over the Colts. We're getting ready here at WBCB. We'll have Eagles and Titans action on 1490 AM. Always look forward to that. What were some of your impressions from Carson Wentz back out on the gridiron?
Well, I'm in a stage in my life now where I was at 4 hours of soccer game, and I was DVRing the game, and I got home and popped it on and watched him go right down the field. I think I saw that game plan before. I remember maybe Wentz against the Bears, so we're going to come out empty, just start throwing a lot of quick passes, really, and get his feet underneath of them. So it was a great job by Coach Peterson, and it's amazing that all that kid's been through to come back and have that level of confidence and spinning out and running and diving and sliding. So it's a great player.
Pretty impressive return to the field for Carson Wentz. But I asked you about Wentz, Coach, kind of to ask you about head coach Doug Peterson. Kind of compare yourself, contrast kind of how you coach. You're not saying you're a Super Bowl champion coach or whatever, but just how he schemes out a game plan and kind of how you approach the field. This Doug Peterson, he's become a trendsetter. Everybody's running a Philly. I mean, you even had him in an inverted bone and throwing a pass, Boyda out to Henser.
Yeah, and I think the touchdown pass to Boyda this past week was one of our specials we ran, where it's a kind of an unusual formation. You can kind of lose guys in, and so we have a certain number of specials in that we'll run, and a little bit of riverboat gambler. And I mean, listen, Coach Bell calls the offense. I don't know, but otherwise, I think from an offensive standpoint, I think we're a lot like them in that. We run a lot of RPOs, and we're committed to run the football, but if the numbers are bad, we're going to throw it.
As a football fan, sometimes I think Doug Peterson is taking some of the aggressiveness that I see at the high school football level and taking it to the NFL, which is generally a more conservative approach. If it's fourth down, you're kicking the football. Well, he's rolling the dice a little bit more, and it seems like that is setting a trend for other teams in the league, and certainly how you guys like to be aggressive out there, especially if you're in the other team's end.
I'd say that he's probably very confident in his defense, number one, to take those chances. But yeah, they got the analytics going and all that stuff. But it's funny, you'll see a lot of NFL things that are happen in high school football, where coaches kind of develop these concepts. There's a guy somewhere that believes in never punting. Like he's always, that's just the stats say never punt.
The analytics.
Yeah.
He's going by the numbers. So when you look at the Ben Salem Owls losing to CB South 35-7, you able to look at that game and kind of see a blueprint for your defense, and not just in the CB South game, but they lost to Abington 41-10, fell to CB East 41-12. That was a team that you guys beat by a point. What do you see when you look at Ben Salem as far as how your defense can play them?
Well, again, we're going to treat them as an option offense, and so we're going to play assignment football. But, they've, if you watch closely on tape, not even closely, but you can just see it's very out there beating themselves, and it's, again, a function of some of their youth. They're going to pitch the ball and some ball security, and there's a lot of decision making they have to make on the run that, some young people would struggle with until they get enough experience out in the field at varsity speed.
You guys got a little work with the option against Council Rock North, and you're going to see it again, I think, later on in the season, right?
Yeah.
The Golden Hawks often will run some option football, so this going to help you guys down the road a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, we start very early, and really in the springtime, addressing two types of offenses in particular, and one is option, and it's just a generic option defense that we run, but we want our kids to have some semblance of what's going on, and the wing T. The wing T is actually becoming more and more rare, except for one group at Truman that's running it really, really well.
So last week against Council Rock North, I know you guys got a couple of sacks. You like the pressure you're getting on the opponent's quarterback, and just talk about the play in the trenches on both sides of the football. I think you guys had like 222 yards on the ground. Your offensive line, blowing open some holes.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier. I mean, the success of our running backs is the group up front, and they're really playing well together. They're starting to almost. You have this innate sense of what your partner's doing next to you, and they're kind of, we run a ton of plays in practice, obviously the game, and so they're really just the experience of playing with each other on that side of the ball, and they're very physical, they're in great shape, and so they can go for long and hard, and then on the defensive side, I would say we are, again, we emphasize playing with our hair on fire, pursuing. We move a lot. We try to create havoc on the defense. On the offensive side of the ball, and so we don't have necessarily massive kids on that side. Our offensive line is pretty good sized kids, but our D line's kind of. I think we look a lot like I said before. Look a lot like say a Woods defensive line or a North Penn where they just pick some of the, I call them the wretched refuse, and they make them defensive linemen. They say go play hungry football.
And those guys usually are hungry guys, right?
As one of our famous centers in town said, hungry dogs run faster. So.
That's right. All right, we want to step aside real quick. We're talking with head coach Dan McShane, getting you set for Pennsbury Falcon football here on WBCB as the Falcons take on the Ben Salem Owls tonight. And I want to run down the Suburban 1 League with Coach when we come back and talk a little bit. Maybe we'll look a little bit into the future as the Falcons Ben Salem tonight and some tough games right around the corner as well. We'll be right back. The Dan McShane Show continues right after this.
The Gator, Jerry Blavitt here, to tell you to tune us in every weekday afternoon from 3 to 5 p.m. right here at WBCB 1490 AM and throughout the world at WBCB1490.com. And it's brought to you by the Italian People Bakery and the deli at 63 Butler Street in the Chambersburg section of Trenton, and also in Levittown at Woodburn and Oxford Valley Roads, and where all baking is done on the premises at both stores.
Peruzzi Nissan is the home of the 3495 Pennsylvania State Inspection and Admission, and is your full-service automotive facility for all makes and models, regardless of where you purchased your car. Air conditioner tune-up for just $79.95 at Peruzzi Nissan. Buy 3 tires at Peruzzi Nissan and get the 4th one free, plus free alignment checks. Have your car looking showroom new with a value detail package for just $64.95 and a full detail package for only $179.95. Peruzzi Nissan Service, Business Route 1, Fairless Hills, where our business is you.
Achieving what you want demands the right game plan. When you team up with PNC, you get the tools and know-how you need to get where you want to go. Whether it's buying a new home, sending your kids off to college, or retiring the way you want, PNC is here ready to help you achieve your financial goals. To discover all the ways PNC can help, stop by any branch or visit PNC.com. PNC for the achiever in you. PNC Bank, member FDIC. Hi, this is Merrill Reese, and since 1986, McCaffrey Supermarket has been a real supermarket experience and a very proud member of our community. Through good times and bad times, Jim McCaffrey and his family have been there to assist our neighbors when they needed help, whether it's helping flood victims, raising funds for the American Cancer Society, or supporting the local Little League teams. You can count on McCaffrey's to be there. McCaffrey Supermarkets, 635 Heacock Road in Yardley, in the village of Newtown, at 2890 South Eagle Road, and also in Princeton and West Windsor.
So we take a look at the Suburban One League National Conference here as we are a couple of weeks into league play. The Falcons with just one league game. You guys got the victory over Council Rock North, 35-7 last week. So you're 1-0. Council Rock South at 2-0 with big wins over Abington. I mean, that was a pretty big game for the Golden Hawks, and they're playing good football. Abington 1-1. Neshaminy now with a win and a loss after falling to Harry S. Truman. Truman, same thing, 1-1, and Council Rock North at 0-2. After Ben Salem, you guys are going to tangle with the Truman Tigers, and you don't want to look ahead. But
No, we don't.
all of a sudden, it seemed like this the league is up for grabs, and there's a bunch of landmines in the schedule, and I'm sure that's kind of how you guys look at it anyway. But it just seems like more the games now are going to be, I don't know, hyped a little bit more. Each team is going to have a shot at the league, and they all kind of control their own destiny, which is an empowering thing for a squad.
Yeah, and some teams have a little more room for error than us. You know, the 0-3 didn't help us, but, you know, we kind of saw, as you said, looking down the line at the league, and we told our kids, you know, it's a long way from over, and, you know, and you look at, you know, it's funny, we look at down at future as far as, not as much as who the opponent, but what type of systems we need to get prepared for, what the defensive system, the offensive system, and, you know, we said earlier, we're going to see a couple option systems, and which is good. It helps you. It's you know, wing T is going to be unique, as we said before, also. But you know, it's coach speak, whatever you want to call it, but it's one game at a time.
So how about injuries for you guys? We didn't get to check in about that quite yet, and didn't see Javon McNeil. Was he on the sideline last week? Brad Mickles and Eddie Dualu got the majority of the carries. Was
Right.
there something behind that we didn't know about upstairs?
He just didn't dress for the game.
So he'll be out there against
We hope.
Ben Salem Owls?
We hope, if he has a good week of practice.
All right, excellent, excellent. And again, Dualu and Brad Mickles, they really benefited from some big line play up front from you guys. Mickles going for 130 and 4 touchdowns for Eddie Dualu. That was pretty big time. Our defensive player of the game was Tayon Sherrod, who had a pick for you guys, which, again, Council Rock, they were hanging around, and those interceptions, it turned the whole momentum around at that point in the game.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled a little bit in coverage, and you know, I think he's a talented kid. But we said you got to trust yourself, believe in yourself, and so I can see a little more of the swagger coming back. And not that he's a overly swag type of kid, but confidence, you know. And so that's really good to see. And you know, he's a big, tall corner, and you know, we think he can match up with, you know, good receivers.
And you want that swagger probably in every player that's on the field for you, but especially when you're talking about cornerbacks and those skill position guys, they really have to be confident in themselves, or else they're
they're on an island, and they have the very short memory and get back and compete the very next play.
All right, well, the Pennsbury Falcons and Ben Salem Owls set to do battle here tonight at Falcon Field. Thanks to head coach Dan McShane for spending some time with us here for the McShane Coaches Show on WBCB. As the 0-5 Ben Salem Owls, they feel more like a 2-3 team, but a couple of their wins early in the season had to be forfeited. So a dangerous Owls team up against a Pennsbury team. You guys are 2-3, and you guys feel like you're a little bit better than 2-3 with some of those early games, had leads in the fourth quarter and let them slip away.
Yeah, I mean,
a learning lesson for your team.
Yeah, and that's what I think we got better from it, which was the key. Learned from it. So, you know, there's a message there that I think our kids really grasped onto.
You know, Coach, real quick before we let you go, one of the things that Brandon and I were talking about, Andrew Hamaker. Before the season, you had mentioned him as one of the players that you were excited about and
Right.
was going to open up some eyes, and just hasn't really been able to get into the flow of the offense. Or have you guys been keeping him in? He's been doing a lot of pass protection, it seemed like, from a lot of the plays that I was able to see.
Yeah, he's been doing a nice job run blocking for us, and a little more kind of like you know, I mean, all receivers know that they're an option, you know, and it just depends if they're taking away inside receivers, we're going to go outside, and that's kind of all it's really been. Is just like the numbers where he's route running is kind of not added up for him.
Well, it's like there's only so many footballs, and you have a lot of wide receivers and running backs that like to get touches and stuff.
Yeah, and you never know who's going to touch it, so.
All right, well, we'll see tonight as the Falcons take on the Ben Salem Owls, a battle of the birds. We've got it for you here on WBCB. This has been the Dan McShane Coaches Show on your station in Bucks, Burlington, and Mercer County for high school football.